Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another game of Changing the Lost, second edition, set in the Shadows of Austin venue. Today we begin on Penelope standing on the side of the road, currently in a pink, candy-like ball gown. With her is Lillian, and also on her left is Mel. The three of them are waiting for
Damn it.
a limo to come pick them up as uh, Penelope was leaving to go on her own, and Mel noticed that the only security going with her was Lillian. Um, Given all the events recently and the fact that the people who came for her last time came armed with guns, it seemed prudent for Mel to come along. As they're waiting there, Penelope is just kind of rocking back and forth on her heels, looking pretty, glowing effervescently.
And a limo will pull up at this point, I'm guessing, that will pick them up. If you want me, can I describe the interior?
Absolutely.
The interior has been very expertly designed with a theme of spring in mind. There's a warm breeze that kind of flows through. There's spring flowers throughout the limo. A good scent that kind of hangs in the air when you get in. And the window in the front is shut, so the driver cannot be seeing or hearing what's going on in the back. And Damien sits in the back with two boxes. He kind of frowns a bit seeing Mel get into the limo, but he will shake it off and wait for everyone to get in before the door shut.
Where
With
does everyone sit, given Penelope is wearing a voluminous dress in this vehicle? One person is probably going to be sitting next to Damien.
Yay,
Who is it?
new friend.
Look, I was gonna say Lillian will take that bullet unless someone else really wants to. Not to say that sitting next to Lillian is a bullet in and of itself.
You know what? I think if Damien's giving a look, Mel would probably let Lillian sit next to Damien, and she'll sit closer to Penelope.
Damien will introduce himself. He's like, "It's good to see you all again. I'm sorry, Mel, for what's about to happen. I did not know you were even going to be here. And I'm going to look very bad, and I feel very ashamed for not even taking the time." He's going to hand the really long box over to Penelope and the smaller box over to Lillian and say, "These are for you, gifts for coming to spend the day with me. Mel, if you would give me your address later, I will happily send you something. I am so sorry."
It's quite all right. I will give you my mailing address.
Excellent. Damien will hand over his personal cell to her. "Send it to me, and I'll send you something as soon as I can."
His personal cell phone or his personal cell number?
His personal cell number.
Okay. Got it.
Does Lillian look in her box?
Yeah.
Well, as a crafter yourself, and given what you've been doing a lot of lately, you look inside and you see that there is a finely made gold-colored scarf. But as soon as your fingers touch it, this material is not silk. A little too cool to the touch. Would you give me a wits plus crafts roll? Your perception bonuses, in this case, do apply.
Okay. And it was a what plus crafts? Wits?
Wits plus crafts. And again, perception bonuses do apply.
Hey, there's 3.
This is made of finely spun gold.
Lillian will close the box up again. She'll say, Damien, believe you may think far too much of me to give me such an extravagant gift.
Not at all. Not at all.
Penelope will open hers, and Mel can see into it, but unfortunately Lillian cannot from the way she's opening it to look inside. Inside is a beautiful, beautiful dress that is reflecting the light like gems. It is something that one would find wondrous. Some of the edging is crystal clear. It looks like it was made from some sort of translucent or transparent material that you're not familiar with.
Damien will look to Lillian while Penelope's opening her say, once again, not at all. I only regret that I do not know you even better, so I could have gotten something more personal. This was just an idea that I hoped might satisfy you.
It is
Mel,
a wonderful gift, regardless, Damien. Thank you.
Mel doesn't know how much this is worth or what it's made of, but it clearly looks valuable.
Oh boy. Yeah, that is. She'll just say, well, it's beautiful.
Penelope will nod at that. I've never seen a dress like it.
Oh, then I'm very glad to have gotten you something that you haven't seen before. The driver is obviously going to start driving. He's been instructed to just drive around the local restaurants until they're finished with their conversation. At which point Damien will contact him and make sure that they pull over.
Why the gift, though? I mean...
You have all come to me wanting to speak. Well, Penelope has, and I've offered to host this. It's only proper that as a host, I give gifts to those who I would receive.
She'll nod her head at that. Close the box. Leave it in her lap.
So, Penelope, you wish to speak to me today. May I ask what this is about, although I suspect I have an idea.
Unofficial business. It's about your letter, but it's not anything official.
Of course. I'm willing to listen.
Less listening, more me listening to you. Your letter has caused quite a stir.
I would not have released it had the punishment that the king intended to give me not made public. That is neither here nor there. I assume you want to know why I wrote the letter in the first place.
No, you already told me that. Remember? Text message.
Yes. Indeed. What is it you wish to know? I'll tell you anything.
What do you want?
To be honest, my end goal is just to let this play out. I want to see if the king is worthy or will step up to be a worthy king. He left me hanging with a threat on my life and then intended to make me a slave to another changeling. I will challenge him until he shows that he is worthy or someone else steps up to take that place. Not me, he says, bowing his head. While I would love to perform services for the freehold, I would not wish to be a king.
No, I mean, what would that take?
I see. Either he steps down or he apologizes and shows that he's willing to stand up for changelings in his court.
So an apology.
I don't know how that would be. Yes, an apology to me would be fine.
Okay. And then What would be stepping up, as you put it?
I'm not sure. It could take any number of forms, wouldn't it? He thinks for a moment. I feel that this is a very deep issue, though. He left me at the whim of a courtier of another court just because that courtier was offended. He thinks for a long moment.
Considering our court, though, if you don't have a desire in mind, she says, knowingly looking at him.
He sighs. Yes. I want him to be able to stand up and say to Rourke himself that his judgment was wrong and that he was also in the wrong. Then any other changelings, and this will be just my piece, I will rescind my challenges to him, but I will be watchful after that point. I will watch for him to be a good king, to ensure that changelings from his court aren't just let out to dry so he can hold favor with other courts.
Well, he saved the life of
no offense to the Autumn Courtiers here.
He saved the life of a lot of members of the Spring Court on numerous occasions, so...
Including your own, Penelope, I am well aware. I do not doubt his courage against the enemies of the Freehold. But when it comes to his position and his goodwill amongst the other courts of the Freehold, leaving any changeling out as long as it benefits him in that run, there I have serious doubts.
She'll nod her head at that. Given the current situation that we're in a wartime, how long would you be willing to give him?
To make the apology?
Well,
Fair
any
enough.
aspect of it. Because, as you know, you were there. What happened to the Freehold, we don't have access to it, and there's clearly hostile courts in play.
Indeed. He sighs. It was regrettable to release the letter. I had hoped to go to the Autumn King and settle this privately between us, but with it in the open, I can't give leeway. I cannot show weakness in this regard. I will keep my position as thus until he apologizes and makes right what he did wrong. Then I will continue to challenge him.
Right. I mean, how long until the next challenge if you're, since we're in this precarious state?
When he makes another proclamation. I will always challenge it, and I will gather the changelings who he proclaims against or even for. So I will be against it.
You're just going to challenge any proclamations made. Okay.
Any orders, anything like that. It's not something I like to do. And he does. He looks a little uncomfortable. He's like, this is not something I would prefer to do because it looks to others as if I'm trying to challenge his power, to seize it for myself. And it is not a great position for me to be in, but it is one I will do, believing it's best for the Freehold.
What about, she takes a breath, trying to compose herself. What about what we're dealing with Safe Storage Solutions? You mentioned you were going to withdraw legal support, and if Safe Storage Solutions falls apart, then there's a lot of things, not just our court, their court, but our court, every court of the Freehold has there. That's going to have to be moved quickly, clandestinely. And if you're saying that no one in the Freehold has access to your services?
That was never the intent of the letter. It was just the two individuals I mentioned. Obviously, Safe Storage Solutions will fall under more than just those two individuals.
Well, the last part of your letter mentioned that if people didn't stand with you, then they get no services.
Indeed. But since no one has come forward to request that aid yet, saying that they would do not agree with the fact that I was unjustly targeted. I see that has no problem yet. He'll turn. He goes, is Mel and Autumn Courtier?
Mel is indeed looking at her in Autumn
Yes.
Courtier. If you'd like to describe the mantle again.
Okay. So Mel's mantle appears most obviously with her eyes. They glow red and gold and orange. They almost look like molten lava.
He will.
The glow is probably a bit more obvious inside the limousine.
He will turn and say, let me take the Autumn Courtier, for instance. Nothing against work. Do not worry. I do not ask you to speak against your court. Do you stand against injustice in this freehold? He asked simply to Mel and Lilian.
I think that's an oversimplification of the issue.
He raises an eyebrow. Indeed. Tell me the side that I am missing then.
To us, you threatened our safe place. Lillian and I had only met you once before. We did not know you were the district attorney or had any ties to the police.
I put out letters all over the freehold and offering my services as district attorney. Granted, if I called the police and had not been in control of the situation, that might have been a call to discuss the problem. However, knowing who I am, and I'm asking on the terms of the Spring King, not against Rourke, he sighs, but to knowing the Spring King should definitely know who I am, offering me as a slave for over a year, binding any ability I have to move into the courts or freeholds at all without others present, making me as a child. You think that is justice, considering my capabilities and what I did to protect your safe house?
I think you were well-intentioned. I don't believe you would actively try to harm us.
Indeed, and neither would I ever do that, even to those who would threaten me. I am a man of peace. I do not wish to end lives. I would never do so.
However, the truth of the matter is yes, you did send out letters. But it wasn't after the fact. Until you mentioned that you were the DA and that you could have ties to the police, that I knew you were the Damien who had sent those letters.
That is fair. I can say that there could be miscommunication. Indeed, that would be a very interesting thing to put down, that you misunderstood and didn't realize who I was. I'm not angry at you once again, Mel. I do not feel anger to anyone in the Autumn Court. Well, save for one, but we already know that issue. He chuckles lightheartedly. But then at this point, once again, why the sentence on my head? Why not come forward and say, we were unaware of who you are? We apologize for threatening your life. Now that you know who you are, what can you do to help us? He raises an eyebrow. Why a sentence of a slavery for a year? Any injustice like that I would stand up against, regardless of court. If someone came to you and said, you must swear this oath because we feel you violated this, that is what I'm here for. Legal aid in both in court and out of it, to protect you from the mortal world and to be an advocate for those who would be persecuted in our world. Now, I'm not asking you to speak out against Rourke. It's just a simple statement, not even regarding the situation. Do you stand against injustice?
No, that's not what you asked though in your letter. You specifically said that they had to stand with you.
With you against injustice, indeed. My
Not-
situation is my own.
Right, but it says, she pulls out the letter. The price is simply that you must stand with me, she points at him, against this injustice, to stop an abuse of authority and stand for the freehold itself. It's not against injustice in general. You did mention this about the specific situation, and that's what I'm concerned about. Is that if there are individuals who aren't willing to say, I stand with you in this specific situation, you're going to turn them away, and that's going to, well, you're a member of my court. That's going to be a violation of the freehold oath.
You're worried about the fracturing everything. You're worried about civil war on top of the war.
No, I'm worried about you being hurt. A violation of the freehold oath comes with a heavy price from the weird, not from us.
Indeed. If I do not protect the freehold, but I can choose on my own to offer legal services to those. I will always put the lives of the changelings in the freehold above anything else.
Good. So you're going to make sure that anyone, even if they don't agree with you, even if it's Rourke, comes asking for legal aid to get the items moved, because all of them are important to the freehold and would reveal what we are to the mortals. You'll provide that aid?
He stops for a moment, thinking. I don't know, to be honest. I don't imagine helping Rourke in anything anymore.
Then I would like to put something in perspective for you. Rourke is,
Go ahead.
for all intents and purposes, the man that runs Safe Stored Solutions. As our king has his hands far too full with the duties of being a monarch on top of his personal specialties. Rourke is the man that essentially runs the Autumn Court headquarters, which is Safe Stored Solutions. Safe Stored Solutions has multiple things. Things that I can't even speak of for that would violate my king's decrees. And
of course.
Quite
as I said before,
I am not finished.
He'll just be silent.
If you wish to rescind your services, I do not control your actions. However, this situation is already very bad. Our headquarters, which holds many things, and this entire situation may force them to see the light of day. And if they do, that can be worse. That can be bad for everyone else, not just the Autumn Court.
I would not want anything bad for the Autumn Court regardless, I say. I will protect Safe Stored Solutions. But if Rourke is ever arrested and asking for my help, he will not receive it. Someone else can take over in his absence at that point. I will always do what I can to protect the freehold, however. Safe Stored Solutions itself, the projects there, the changelings there, will have protection.
Now, let me ask this. If Rourke were to violate mortal laws in upholding freehold laws, and the situation was bad enough, would you prosecute him? That would fall under your duties as DA.
It would, and honestly, the urge to do so would be quite strong. But if he was protecting the freehold, well, we'll see, won't we? I don't think that would be an issue as long as we continue along this path. I can't imagine him being arrested as long as he's protecting the freehold anyway, so we'll look to that. Other than that, though, the bigger issue will be with the
King of Spring.
It will. But I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay when it came to the freehold oath for members of my court.
Let me ask you, Penelope, as Herald of Spring, do you intend to speak for the king?
I do. But as you can see, I can also speak for myself.
I see that very well. I would ask that you remain neutral in this, at least until the situation is resolved.
That's not my job. I was appointed to be herald,
Of Spring, indeed.
which the specific purpose is to be an extension of the monarch when the monarch calls. I have a duty.
Even when his rulings are unjust? Do you think it was wise of him to do what he did, publicly proclaiming it all, trying to besmirch me?
No,
He has taken time to use his status against me and hurt even the mantle of Spring around me. Out of all these, while Rourke may not have known who I am, the King of Spring certainly did.
I wasn't there to make the judgment call. But what I can say is your reaction has put the entire freehold at risk as well. So I can't stand with either of you when it comes to
I
my
would not
personal
ask you to
feelings.
stand with me, Penelope.
But you did.
I would not compromise that. I would ask you to just stay out of it entirely.
I can't. I still have a job to do. Just like you do.
He frowns. Yes, but even in my job, I make concessions for the right thing. My mortal job doesn't hold position over me. I use it to benefit justice in the freehold.
And if
I should hold true to my job, I should first prosecute every single case that comes across my desk, whether or not I know they're changeling.
But I wasn't talking about your mortal job.
He sighs.
You involved
And
the
everything-
entire freehold more than even Charlemagne.
Indeed.
It's our job in Spring to
spread the desire to... Is that what you're going to say?
No, to make people's desires happen. But you didn't check to see what the desires of everyone was first.
So you think their desire is to be ignorant? To be strings pulled?
I know the desires of many were to keep this within the Spring. Just because.
And who was it that made the public proclamation against me?
And who was
put it
the one
out
who
of the
made it
hands of
worse?
Spring?
Just because one of you did something wrong doesn't justify the other one doing something wrong either.
It is not wrong to defend myself. If I am accused publicly, I have every right to speak publicly in my defense. What would be wrong is to stay silent in fear because I will just acquiesce based off of the king's desire.
I never said stay silent. I was just saying, you could have gone privately. You could have sent it to all the spring courtiers.
Yes, I could have sent it to only the spring courtiers,
And then you would have
which
been...
would have still made me look like an accused weakling to every other court out there.
Who cares if others think of you as weak?
I do, because my job is to make sure that I look strong for them. If I can't be the strong changeling to protect them when that time comes, the legal trouble, the anything, I can't help them with their desires. I can't help them with anything. Why would they come to me?
Because there is a fundamental difference between acquiescing to the wishes of your monarch and operating an element that is your expertise.
I will never be a slave again for anyone, even a monarch. I'll never look like that to anyone again. We may all have that shared abuse in our past, but it will never be my future. Not for anyone.
Then speak to him about it. Thus far, I've seen proclamations, and I mean no offense to either yourself or Charlemagne, just articles that make all parties involved seem weak. I know that you are not weak. You would not be the district attorney of Austin, Texas if you were weak. I am well aware that Charlemagne is not weak. He would not be monarch of spring if he was. If you wish to advocate on your behalf, then advocate on your own behalf. You are more than capable of doing that. I believe you more than know when they become public shows.
He'll think on it for a moment. I'll give it thought. I've already made sure that the freehold I will continue to protect. I don't know if I can... He just goes silent for a moment. Either way, it seems like we've soured the mood pretty quickly. Who wants to go grab lunch?
I think food is a good distraction here.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind a bite to eat.
All right. I will go ahead and have the driver pull us over for lunch.
She'll nod at that. And I assume that they just have their meal and then end up going their separate ways. As players, there's anything else you needed from me for this scene?
I think I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Corey?
For some reason, my thing took a second to pop back up on Google Hangout. Yeah, no, I sent you a message.
Yes. All right, I responded to that. Just one moment, folks. We're going to get another roll in. Okay. All right. Dice roller. And ironically, it is the only character sheet I didn't pull up for this scene. So give me a second. Everyone has stats. All right. Okay. You did not knock down the door on her.
Oh, okay.
But your impression level is at good, so you can try again on another day.
Cool.
Yep. Is there anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, then I'll do the outro. So as they go to eat, they sit down, enjoying their silent pleasantries with weather and a lighter fare and discussions at play. And thus our scene comes to a close. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Have a good afternoon.